Have you ever felt your heart beating so fast it feels like it might burst out of your chest? That sensation of your pulse racing, your palms sweating, and your mind spinning with endless worst-case scenarios isn't just an uncomfortable moment. It's your body's alarm system desperately trying to communicate something important. For those of us over 60, these warning signs take on an even more critical significance. What many dismiss as just stress or having a bad day might actually be the early warning signs of a condition that becomes increasingly difficult to reverse as we age. The medical community has long recognized that anxiety disorders affect people of all ages, but recent research has revealed something particularly concerning for those in their golden years. When anxiety symptoms are repeatedly ignored in the aging process, neural pathways become more deeply entrenched, stress hormones create more significant physical damage, and the brain's natural plasticity, its ability to adapt and gradually. The most alarming discovery is that after age 60, these changes can reach a tipping point where the condition becomes remarkably resistant to standard treatment. What once might have responded well to basic interventions now requires more intensive, multifaceted approaches, and in some cases, complete resolution becomes elusive. This isn't meant to frighten you, but rather to emphasize the importance of recognizing and addressing these signs before they evolve into something much more difficult to manage. Throughout our lives, we're taught to prioritize our physical health, to watch for signs of heart disease, diabetes, or cancer, but we rarely receive the same education about our mental well. The subtle indicators of anxiety are often misinterpreted or dismissed entirely, especially among older adults who grew up in generations where discussing mental health carried significant stigma. Many have spent decades pushing through anxiety, believing it to be a normal part of life, or simply a character trait rather than a treatable condition. This silence and misunderstanding has led countless individuals into their senior years with untreated anxiety that has gradually transformed from a manageable condition into something far more entrenched and treatment-resistant. But knowledge is power, and understanding the early warning signs can make all the difference. In today's video, we'll explore the critical signals your body and mind might be sending, signals that, if heeded early enough, could prevent anxiety from becoming a permanent companion in your later years. We'll discuss the specific neurological and physiological changes that occur after 60 which make anxiety particularly challenging to reverse. And most importantly, we'll share practical, evidence-based strategies you can implement today, regardless of your age, to address anxiety before it reaches this concerning threshold. Whether you're concerned for yourself or for a loved one, the information in this video could be the turning point in preventing a treatable condition from becoming a life-altering burden. So take a deep breath, and let's explore this crucial topic together. Thank you so much for joining me today on this channel dedicated to supporting your mental well-being, especially as you navigate the unique challenges that come with aging. I'm truly grateful that you've taken time out of your day to be here. It shows your commitment to caring for your complete health, not just the physical aspects that often get more attention. Creating a space where we can openly discuss issues like anxiety is so important, particularly for those of us who grew up in times when these conversations were often discouraged or misunderstood. Your presence here is already a powerful step toward breaking that cycle of silence. Before we dive deeper into today's topic, I want to acknowledge something important. Experiencing anxiety doesn't mean you're weak or failing in any way. Anxiety is a common human experience that affects millions of people worldwide, and seeking information and support shows tremendous strength. Many of the most accomplished, resilient people throughout history have dealt with anxiety, often using it as a catalyst for positive change when properly understood and managed. The journey to mental well-being isn't always straightforward, and that's okay. There are good days and challenging ones, steps forward and occasional steps back. What matters most is that you're here now, seeking knowledge that can help you recognize important warning signs and take action before anxiety becomes more difficult to address. Remember that while the information I share today is based on current research and expert understanding, it's meant to supplement, not replace, the personalized guidance of healthcare professionals. Each person's experience with anxiety is unique, and the strategies that work best can vary significantly from one individual to another. As we explore this topic together, I invite you to listen with an open mind and heart, taking what resonates with your personal experience and circumstance. Your well-being matters tremendously, and I'm honored to be a small part of your journey toward understanding and addressing anxiety, especially during this important stage of life. Anxiety is a natural response that evolved to protect us from threats, but when it becomes chronic or excessive, it transforms from a helpful ally into an unwelcome intruder in our daily lives. What makes this topic particularly important for those in their 60s and beyond is how anxiety interacts with the aging process in ways many people don't realize. Today's discussion isn't about creating fear, but providing crucial understanding that can empower you to take control of your mental health before certain thresholds are crossed. The content we're exploring today comes from a synthesis of recent neurological research, geriatric psychiatry findings, and clinical studies specifically focused on anxiety disorders in older adults. These sources have revealed that while anxiety is treatable at any age, there are biological and neurological changes that occur after 60 that make long-established anxiety patterns more resistant to intervention. These findings aren't widely discussed in general mental health resources, which tend to take a one-size-fits-all approach, rather than addressing the unique considerations of different life stages. Throughout our conversation today, we'll balance scientific understanding with practical, accessible strategies that acknowledge the real-world challenges many older adults face. We'll discuss approaches that don't require major lifestyle overhauls or complicated regimens, but rather thoughtful adjustments that can yield significant benefit. I want to emphasize that this information applies whether you're currently experiencing anxiety symptoms, have dealt with anxiety intermittently throughout your life, or are simply being proactive about your mental health as you age. It's also valuable if you're concerned about a spouse, parent, or friend who might be showing signs of anxiety, but is reluctant to acknowledge or address them. As we move forward, I'll be sharing some personal stories from individuals who recognized these warning signs and took action, as well as from those who waited until after 60 to seek help, so you can understand the different trajectories these paths can take. My hope is that by the end of our time together, you'll feel equipped with knowledge that can help you or someone you care about avoid reaching the point where anxiety becomes significantly harder to reverse. Let's explore the 5 critical signs that your anxiety might be developing into something more serious and potentially harder to reverse, especially as you approach or pass age 60. The first sign is what medical professionals call persistent worry loops that interfere with daily functioning. This goes beyond occasional concern about real problems and manifests as a near constant state of worry that jumps from one topic to another without resolution. You might find yourself unable to complete simple tasks because your mind keeps generating what-if scenarios, or you might spend hours ruminating over minor interactions or decisions. What makes this particularly significant after 60 is that these thought patterns become increasingly automated and entrenched due to long-term neural pathway reinforcement. Each time these worry loops activate, they strengthen like a path in a forest that becomes more defined with repeated use. The second critical sign involves changes in your sleep patterns that persist for more than 2 weeks. This isn't just about having trouble falling asleep occasionally, but rather experiencing new or worsening patterns of middle-of-night waking with racing thoughts, waking significantly earlier than intended with immediate anxiety, or dream content that regularly involves threats, failure, or being unprepared. Sleep disruption is both a symptom and amplifier of anxiety, creating a dangerous cycle that becomes particularly difficult to break after 60, when sleep architecture naturally undergoes changes that can make restorative sleep more elusive. The third sign relates to new or intensifying physical symptoms that medical evaluations haven't fully. This might include persistent digestive issues, increased heart palpitations, muscle tension that leads to pain, particularly in the neck, shoulders, and back, unexplained headaches, or a general sense of restlessness that makes it difficult to sit still. After 60, the body's stress response system doesn't recover as quickly from activation, meaning these physical manifestations of anxiety can create more significant wear and tear on multiple body systems. The fourth warning sign involves increasing avoidance behaviors that restrict your world. Perhaps you've started declining social invitations that you would have previously enjoyed, taking longer routes to avoid certain locations, procrastinating on important tasks, or relying on others to handle situations that make you uncomfortable. This avoidance might seem minor at first, choosing the self-checkout to avoid interaction, or asking family members to make calls on your behalf, but it tends to expand gradually, limiting your life in ways that reinforce anxiety. For adults over 60, these avoidance patterns can be particularly problematic because they often coincide with life transitions like retirement or health changes that might already be reducing social engagement. The fifth and often most overlooked sign is an increase in safety behaviors, subtle actions taken to prevent feared outcomes or manage anxiety symptoms. These might include carrying certain items just in case, like medication you rarely need, excessively checking things, locks, appliances, calendars, over-preparing for simple outings, or needing specific reassurances before engaging in activities. While these behaviors provide temporary relief, they actually confirm to your brain that the situation was dangerous and that you only remained safe because of the precautionary measure. After decades of reinforcement, these safety behaviors can become so automatic that they're nearly invisible to the person performing them. Yet they significantly maintain and strengthen anxiety. What makes these 5 signs particularly critical to address before age 60 is that they represent both psychological patterns and neurobiological changes that become more resistant to modification with the brain's neuroplasticity. Its ability to form new connections and adapt gradually decreases, making it more difficult to unlearn these established patterns and create healthier alternatives. Additionally, chronic anxiety triggers inflammatory processes and stress hormone cascades that, over decades, can affect cognitive function and further reduce the brain's adaptability, creating a concerning cycle that becomes increasingly difficult to interrupt. I need to pause here and ask you something important. What time of day does anxiety usually hit you the hardest? You know, each person feels anxiety uniquely, and sharing this experience can be the first step to understanding it better. I know you may have never talked about this with anyone. Maybe you think no one would understand, or that your feelings aren't important, but I want you to know that here, in this space, your experience matters deeply. Leave us a comment below completing the sentence. My anxiety usually appears when your courage in sharing might be exactly what another person needs to read today to feel less alone. And in upcoming videos, we'll address specifically those moments you share. This is a community of mutual support, where every word of yours is welcomed with respect and understanding. Many people find that anxiety follows certain patterns or intensifies at specific times. For some, mornings bring the heaviest weight of worry as they anticipate the day. Others find that evening hour, when the distractions of daily activities fade, leave them vulnerable to racing thoughts. Some experience anxiety that rises like clockwork at 3 a.m., jolting them awake with a pounding heart. By identifying these patterns, we can begin to implement targeted strategies rather than trying to manage anxiety with a one-size-fits-all approach. Your experience provides valuable insights not just for your own journey, but potentially for thousands of others watching who might recognize themselves in your words. There's something powerful about realizing you're not alone in what you're, that others understand the weight you. Often in our society, especially for those who grew up in earlier generations, there's an unspoken expectation to keep struggles private, to put on a brave face regardless of what's happening internally. But healing begins when we bring these experiences into the light, when we name them and share them with others who understand. So I encourage you to take that step today. Your comment might seem small, but its impact could be profound, both for your own journey and for someone else who needs to know they're not facing anxiety alone. Whatever you choose to share will be received with compassion and respect, and it will help guide the content we create to address the specific challenges faced by this community. Now, let's explore some practical approaches to address anxiety before it reaches that concerning threshold of becoming more resistant to change. These strategies are especially effective when implemented before age 60, but they can still offer significant benefits at any age. The first approach focuses on interrupting worry cycles through structured worry time. Rather than trying to stop worrying altogether, which often paradoxically increases anxiety, set aside a specific 15 to 30-minute period each day, dedicated exclusively to your concern. When worries arise outside this time, gently remind yourself that you'll address them during your designated worry period and note them down, if needed. This technique helps contain worry rather than letting it spread throughout your day, and research shows it can significantly reduce both the frequency and intensity of anxious thoughts within 2 to 3 weeks of consistent practice. For many older adults, this structured approach provides relief without requiring medication or intensive therapy. Another powerful strategy involves addressing the physical manifestations of anxiety through deliberate relaxation practices. The tension release technique is particularly effective for those experiencing physical symptoms. Systematically tense, and then fully release each muscle group, starting from your feet and moving upward. This practice helps reset your body's stress response system and increases awareness of subtle tension you might be carrying unknowingly. For even greater benefit, pair this physical relaxation with diaphragmatic breathing, slow, deep breaths that fully engage your diaphragm rather than shallow chest breathing. Together, these approaches directly counter the physiological aspects of anxiety that become more problematic after 60. Equally important is modifying avoidance behaviors through gradual exposure. The key is to break down avoided situations into smaller, manageable steps that you can approach incrementally. For example, if social gatherings have become anxiety-prone, you might start by attending a small, time-limited event with a trusted companion, gradually working toward larger or longer gatherings. Each successful step builds confidence and teaches your nervous system that these situations aren't as threatening as they seem. This approach is particularly valuable before age 60, as the neural pathways representing these fears haven't yet become as deeply entrenched and resistant to change. Environmental modifications can also play a crucial role in anxiety management, especially for seniors. Your physical surroundings significantly impact your mental state, often in ways you might not consciously register. Consider evaluating your living space for anxiety triggers. Excess clutter can overwhelm the sensory system and increase stress hormones, while poor lighting can affect mood and energy levels. Many older adults find that creating a designated calm space, even if it's just a comfortable chair with good lighting, pleasant scents, and a few meaningful items, provides a reliable retreat during moments of heightened anxiety. Additionally, limiting news consumption to specific times, rather than throughout the day, can prevent the constant activation of your stress response system. Cognitive reframing is another approach that becomes increasingly valuable as we age. This involves identifying and challenging unhelpful thought patterns that fuel anxiety. For instance, catastrophizing, assuming the worst possible outcome, is common among anxiety sufferers. When you notice these thoughts, practice asking, "What's the most likely outcome?" and "How have I handled similar situations in the past?" This doesn't dismiss legitimate concerns, but places them in a more balanced perspective. For older adults who've spent decades with certain thought patterns, working with a cognitive behavioral therapist can be particularly helpful in developing this skill, though many find that even self-guided practice yields significant improvements. Another strategy that many find transformative is value-based activity scheduling. Anxiety often leads us to make decisions based on comfort rather than what truly matters to us, gradually shrinking our world. Counteract this by regularly engaging in activities aligned with your core values, even when they involve some discomfort. If connection is important to you but social anxiety has limited your interactions, scheduling regular brief social activities regardless of anxious feelings helps prevent further isolation. Research consistently shows that behavior change often precedes feeling change. By engaging in meaningful activities despite anxiety, the anxiety itself typically diminishes over time. This approach is particularly important before anxiety becomes more entrenched after 60. Nutritional considerations also play a surprisingly significant role in anxiety management, especially as we age. While no specific diet cures anxiety, certain patterns of eating can either fuel or calm the nervous system. Rapidly fluctuating blood sugar levels can trigger anxiety symptoms that mimic panic attacks, particularly in older adults. Maintaining stable blood sugar through regular meals containing protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates helps prevent these physiological triggers. Additionally, research has identified connections between gut health and anxiety, with certain probiotic strains showing promise in reducing anxiety symptoms. Limiting caffeine and alcohol is equally important, as both substances can significantly amplify anxiety, with their effects often becoming more pronounced after 60 due to changes in how the body metabolizes these substances. Let's explore how anxiety specifically affects those over 60 in ways that differ from younger adults. Understanding these age-specific factors helps explain why addressing anxiety before this threshold is so important. First, the neurological impact becomes more significant with age. After 60, the brain naturally experiences some degree of structural change, including reductions in certain areas involved in emotion regulation. When these normal age-related changes combine with the neurological impact of long-term anxiety, the effect can be compounded. Research has shown that chronic anxiety actually accelerates certain aspects of brain aging, particularly in regions responsible for memory, complex thinking, and emotional control. This creates a concerning cycle where anxiety contributes to cognitive changes that then make anxiety management more challenging. The relationship between anxiety and cognitive function becomes particularly important after 60. While occasional forgetfulness is normal with aging, anxiety can significantly amplify these experiences, sometimes mimicking early dementia symptoms. Many older adults become fearful about cognitive decline when experiencing memory lapses, not realizing that anxiety itself is often contributing to these cognitive difficulties. This creates another troubling cycle. Anxiety causes concentration and memory problems, which then generate more anxiety about cognitive ability. Studies have found that successfully treating anxiety in older adults often improves cognitive performance, highlighting how interconnected these systems are. Physical health comorbidities also play a crucial role in anxiety after 60. Conditions common in older adulthood such as cardiovascular disease, respiratory conditions, and chronic pain have bidirectional relationships with anxiety. Each can worsen the other. For example, anxiety increases inflammation, which can exacerbate arthritis pain, while the increased pain then triggers more anxiety about mobility and independence. Similarly, anxiety can elevate blood pressure and heart rate, potentially worsening cardiovascular conditions, which then create additional health anxieties. This complex interplay between physical and mental health often makes anxiety in older adults more complicated to address than in younger populations. Medication considerations become more complex after 60 as well. While anti-anxiety medications may be appropriate in some cases, Older adults typically experience more significant side effects and drug interactions due to age-related changes in metabolism and the presence of other medications. This often limits pharmaceutical options that might be readily available to younger adults. Additionally, certain medications commonly prescribed for various physical conditions can actually increase anxiety as a side effect, creating a situation where the treatment for one condition inadvertently worsens another. This pharmacological complexity makes non-medication approaches to anxiety even more valuable for those over 60. The impact of major life transitions represents another factor that makes anxiety uniquely challenging for older adults. Retirement, relocation, loss of loved ones, and changes in health and independence all commonly occur after 60 and can significantly impact identity and purpose. These transitions can trigger new anxiety or intensify existing patterns, especially when they involve changes to long-established routines or roles. Without adequate support and coping strategy, these natural life transitions can become catalysts for anxiety that becomes increasingly entrenched. While these age-specific factors present real challenges, understanding them provides valuable context for why early intervention is so crucial. The good news is that even with these biological and circumstantial factors, anxiety remains treatable at any age. The approach simply needs to be tailored to address these specific considerations. One of the most crucial insights from recent research is that anxiety manifests differently in older adults than it does in younger populations, often making it more difficult to recognize and therefore more likely to go untreated until it becomes firmly established. While younger individuals typically experience the classic symptoms commonly associated with anxiety, such as excessive worry, restlessness, and panic attacks, older adults frequently present with what specialists call masked anxiety. This means the anxiety expresses itself through symptoms that might not immediately be recognized as anxiety-related, such as physical complaints, irritability, or concentration problems. Many older adults report primarily physical symptoms like gastrointestinal issues, muscle tension, headaches, or sleep disturbances without connecting these to anxiety. Others might experience increased irritability, criticism of others, or a lower threshold for frustration, rather than explicitly feeling worried or fearful. These alternative expressions of anxiety often lead to misdiagnosis or no diagnosis at all, with symptoms being attributed simply to aging or to physical conditions. This missed opportunity for early intervention allows the anxiety to strengthen its neural pathway, making it progressively more difficult to address. Another important aspect rarely discussed is how the historical context experienced by today's seniors influences their approach to mental health. Many individuals now in their 60s and beyond grew up during eras when psychological struggles were heavily stigmatized or viewed as character flaws rather than health conditions requiring attention. This generational context often creates internal barriers to recognizing and addressing anxiety, with many older adults having internalized messages that they should simply tough it out, or that acknowledging psychological distress represents weakness. These deeply ingrained beliefs can prevent people from seeking help, even when anxiety significantly impacts their quality of life. The good news within this challenging picture is that awareness itself becomes a powerful intervention. Simply understanding how anxiety might manifest differently in older adulthood and recognizing the influence of generational attitudes can open the door to addressing issues that might otherwise remain hidden. This awareness allows individuals to connect seemingly unrelated symptoms into a meaningful pattern and recognize when it might be time to seek support. What's particularly encouraging is that when older adults do engage in appropriate treatment for anxiety, they often respond quite well, especially when the intervention addresses their specific age-related concerns and builds on the wisdom and perspective they've developed throughout their lives. If you identified with what we talked about today and you're looking for natural ways to calm your mind and live with more peace, our channel is a safe space created especially for you. Each week we share simple and effective techniques that have helped thousands of people recover their peace. We're together on this journey, and every step you take toward wellness matters. Click the subscribe button below and activate notifications to receive our videos as soon as they're published. Remember, you don't need to face anxiety alone, and small changes can make a big difference in your quality of life. Our upcoming videos will address specific aspects of anxiety management that are particularly relevant for those in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, including techniques designed to work with, not against, the natural changes that occur during this stage of life. We'll explore evidence-based approaches that don't require major lifestyle overhaul, but rather thoughtful adjustments that yield significant benefit. You'll hear from specialists in geriatric mental health, as well as from individuals who have successfully navigated anxiety during their senior years. We'll also address the important topic of supporting loved ones who might be experiencing anxiety, but are reluctant to acknowledge or address it due to generational attitudes about mental health. By subscribing, you'll join a community of individuals who share similar experiences and are committed to maintaining or improving their mental well-being as they age. Many viewers have shared that simply knowing they're not alone in their experiences has been tremendously comforting and motivating. The comments section of each video provides a space for respectful discussion, question asking, and connection with others who truly understand what you're going through. Your presence in this community not only benefits your own journey, but can also provide valuable support to others walking similar paths. Our goal is to create content that addresses your specific needs and concerns, so your engagement through comments and questions helps shape future videos in ways that will be most helpful to you and others like you. By joining us on this journey, you're taking a significant step toward prioritizing your mental well-being, a step that can have profound effects on your overall health and quality of life in the years ahead. I hope today's discussion has provided valuable insights into why addressing anxiety, especially before age 60, can make such a significant difference in long-term mental well-being. If you found this information helpful, please consider sharing this video with friends or family members who might benefit from understanding these important warning signs and strategies. Your share could be the turning point someone needs to recognize and address their anxiety before it becomes more resistant to change. The information we've discussed today represents just the beginning of what's possible when it comes to managing anxiety effectively. While the challenges may become greater after 60, improvement is always possible with the right approach and support. The human brain retains some degree of plasticity throughout life, meaning that new patterns can still be established, even when old ones have been in place for decades. If you've already passed the age threshold we've discussed today and are experiencing anxiety, please don't interpret this information as suggesting it's too late for improvement. Rather, it simply means that your approach might need to be more comprehensive and patient than it might have been at an earlier stage. Many individuals in their 70s, 80s, and beyond have successfully reduced long-standing anxiety through consistent practice of the strategies we've discussed, often with professional guidance tailored to their specific needs. Remember that every person's experience with anxiety is unique, influenced by countless biological, psychological, and social factors. What works best for managing anxiety varies significantly from one individual to another, which is why having a variety of strategies to try is so valuable. If one approach doesn't yield the results you're hoping for, another might be more effective for your particular situation. The journey toward better mental health rarely follows a straight line. There are typically ups and downs along the way. Progress often happens gradually, sometimes so subtly that you might not notice the changes until you look back and realize how far you've come. Patience with yourself during this process is not just kind, but actually necessary for long-term success. I want to close our time together by encouraging you to take one small step today based on what you've. Perhaps it's setting aside a specific worry time, practicing a brief relaxation exercise, reaching out to a healthcare provider, or simply observing your own patterns with greater awareness. Even the smallest action, when taken consistently, can create meaningful change over time. Remember that caring for your mental health is just as important as maintaining your physical well-being, especially, in fact, the two are inseparably connected, each influencing the other in profound ways. By addressing anxiety, you're not just improving your emotional experience, but potentially benefiting your physical health, cognitive function, and overall quality of life as well. Thank you for your attention and openness throughout this discussion. Your willingness to engage with this important topic shows courage and commitment to your well-being. If you have questions or thoughts about what we've covered today, please share them in the comments below. Your input not only helps us create more relevant content, but also contributes to a supportive community where experiences and insights can be shared. Until next time, be gentle with yourself as you navigate this journey. Small steps forward, taken consistently, can lead to remarkable destinations. And remember, it's never too early or too late to prioritize your mental well-being. I look forward to continuing this conversation with you in future videos, where we'll explore additional aspects of maintaining and improving mental health throughout the aging process. Wishing you peace, clarity, and steadily increasing moments of joy as you move forward.